Welcome to Hairbrain Live. This is our monthly takeover with Slate Hair Education and the creative director Michael Pizzilidis.
Hi everyone.
So what are we doing today?
So today we're doing a really beautiful classic haircut. It's in turn my favorite of all the classic haircuts. It's a graduated bob, but first I want to introduce you to my beautiful model, Natalie. She's here joining us and she's agreed to have a lovely change as well. You can see the length that we've got, but we're going to have this lovely little graduated shape which is going to fit in nice and tight around the back, and it's going to come into this beautiful graduation in the front. The graduation is going to build all the way across towards the front as well, and what I'm going to show you is a really easy way to get a beautiful graduation sitting in the right place. First I'm going to explain to you a little bit about our sectioning. Our sectioning started with this lovely curved section we see here, and this is going to be the base of our graduation. So this is where we're really going to be building our graduation from all the way up. So this is really where we're going to see the graduation building from. After that we have these sections you see here, and this is really where the graduation is going to sit on top of that point. So it's giving us a good base, a good guideline to where we're building the graduation to. And everything after that is going to come and sit onto this graduation that we've created there afterwards. You see at this point I've separated another section from the top and to the front as well. And so this next section will again work into our graduation, and I've separated the front for a safe way to create the length in the front with less graduation. And I'm going to show you, and this is really my secret to getting the graduation exactly where you want it and without too much graduation to cut off afterwards. From there on we have the top sections as well, and these will really sit after we've got a strong base from the rest of the haircut. But just to show you where I've started with this center section, and I've literally just cut it. And this is really a huge factor for us. It gives us the length we have in the outline, which we are going to refine and cut in afterwards, and it gives us the weight line. So this is the real weight that you're going to see. Whenever I do this haircut, I always turn my client or my model to the side so I can really see where the weight is building. So if you look from the profile as you guys are, you can see the features, and we try and keep hair off the face so we can see the features, we can see the face, and we can start to visualize where our weight is going and where it's going to sit towards the face. But this is really giving us the build-up of the weight that we see. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just check this first section again, but it looks great for me. I normally go a little bit longer than I think, just to have a chance to tighten it if I want to. As it's the first section, it always is the most important in terms of length and weight. So you can see the first section is a little triangle section in the center. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pivoting from this point. So I've got my center section, and I'm really going to pivot from this point. I'm not going to move from this point. It's going to be my guideline, and I'm going to start pivoting around the head. What this does is it's going to allow me to start deciding the length I want in the front. As I over-direct the hair more towards the center, I'm going to be creating more longer lengths in the front. If I start to pull the hair up, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be ending up shorter. So again, this is really important, guys. The more you pull back, the longer you get in the front. The more you pull the hair up, the shorter you end up. So if you want to end up really short in the front, there's no point in pulling it all the way down. If you want to keep the length in the front, you've got to really pull the hair back in order to maintain length towards the front. So that's why that first section gives you the weight, and then the sections after that start deciding the length that you're going to have in the front as well. Guys, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know where you're watching from. We love to hear where you guys are from. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. My lovely friend George here is here to help us and ask me all the questions you have.
What do you have people from Northern Ireland, from West Ireland, New York, from Montreal?
Great. So what you can see here, guys, is with this next section I've actually got no hair to cut from the top section. This is really important. This shows you that your guideline is stationary. In other words, your guideline does not change from the center. If you do your triangle sections and you start pivoting and you see hair in the top that needs to be cut, what it means is you're pulling new hair into your guideline, and therefore your guideline is no longer stationary. It will be moving, and therefore you will be changing the shape of your graduation in the back. Now, because we want a really nice curved sections, we're making sure that that guideline is stationary for us. So you can see that second section starts to move around and we start to get the length that we're going to have here, which is really important as well. As we work up, we want to build the graduation higher, so we're not ending up with this really low graduation either. Now this is really easy to change. As I said, if you want the graduation to end up being longer, you pull the hair more back. If you want the graduation to come higher on the face, you pull it higher up as you work. You have to visualize where your hands are going. So it's not just what you're cutting, but it's where you're going with the haircut as well that makes a huge difference, because each section will allow you to see where you're going further within the haircut. So what I'm doing now is I'm deciding how much I'm lifting up this next section, because I'm deciding how short I want my graduation to be in the front. Okay, because I want it to come shorter in the front, it means that I'm elevating my sections as I work as well. And so we can see the graduation is now building. If you want to have a little bit more caution in this haircut so that your balance is better, you can always do one side and then the other. So that's one section, one section, one section, one section, and you can keep checking your balance. For a reason why I feel quite confident and we're trying to move quickly within the haircut as well, we want to just do one side. So this is what I would do in a salon situation or in a show situation. But if I'm teaching, I will normally teach the students to do one side first and then the second side until you feel confident with this technique. Now you can see the length here on the sides and where it's falling. This length is really important. This length we have here is actually the shortest point of the haircut. Everything after that will curve up and go a little bit shorter as we get towards the front. That's why it's so important. So my trick here, which is really important, is that I actually start from the corner and work my way up. If you start from the middle and you work your way down, people have a tendency to over elevate. And when you over elevate, it ends up being too short. So what you want to do is you want to start at the hardest point and pull the head down so that you have the length to end up towards the front. So what I do here, my secret here, really important secret, is I actually start from the corner, because this is the length we're going to end up in the front. So I find my guideline and I start to cut from the corner, working my way up. If you have any questions on this haircut, please guys, don't hesitate to ask. We love hearing your questions as well. So once again, I work from the corner and I work up towards the middle. Most people work from the middle and work towards the front. They end up too short. This is a safer way of working, where you work from the corner and you work your way back up. But there's another little secret I do which helps grab all the inconsistencies, and I call it walking the dog. It's not a very technical term, but it simply means whenever you go up, you come back down. So you've gone up and you come back down. The other reason for doing this is to grab any inconsistencies. So we have a tendency, when we do this, to have some inconsistencies, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a curve shape with very straight fingers. And if you imagine trying to create a curve shape with straight fingers, as you move around the head, it's almost like you're creating very little corners as you work. And so the best way to avoid this is to actually work from down to up and then from up to down. This will allow you to have more control and make sure that there's no little inconsistencies in your work either.
We'll go to our first questions.
Yeah, I love first questions.
Let's go. What do you think on the tension to use on different hair textures for this haircut?
Yeah, I think different textures is really important, but to be honest, I think more importantly is this area of the skin is very stretchy. So if we look at this area of the skin, we can see it's very malleable. You can really move the skin, and what happens is if you put way too much tension, you're actually deforming the shape, and when you look at it again, it won't be a very clean line. So normally in these areas of the skin where they're very malleable, they have a lot of movement to them, it's better off to perhaps not have so much tension, and then when you get to another area like the top of the head that doesn't have so much play, it's better to use more tension. Now tension is very good for blending things, so if you want to have a very blended graduation without too many weight lines and things like that, it's actually a really nice idea to use tension. Tension helps everything blend. So if you imagine like a spring, when you pull the hair, it's almost like a spring. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to just everything to jump back. And when it jumps back, it just blends better. So as I'm working, I'm having a little bit of a check. I'm conscious of my balance as I'm working. So I'm just having a little check as I go. It's very, very important. A good cutter should be able to cut the haircut and check as they go. And that way there's less refinement at the end. If you find you have to do a lot of refinement and there's a problem with balance and things like that, normally it comes from when you don't check your work as you work. So you have to check as you go along, basically. Always just checking the balance as you go. It's much easier to refine it if you find the problem before it becomes a big problem. So you find the problem when it's still in its infancy, and it's much easier to fix as you go. But I hope that answers your question about tension. If you'd like.
So the other question about tension was, how much tension do you use now on each
So
section?
now it's enough to really feel a pull of the hair. You want to feel the pull of the hair, but you're looking at the skin. You don't want to see the skin deforming too much. You want to see the tension, but you don't want to see the malleable. You don't want to see the hair moving too much as well. And so that's why you want to get enough to really get a firm grip on the hair, but you don't want to have too much that you're deforming the skin, and therefore your shape won't be what you see.
I think Matthew gave a nice, explanation. So to say, enough tension to get the hair straight, but not to pull the skin.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly what you want. You want to feel that there's a nice bit of tension, like it's about to jump back, but you don't want to have too much that you're deforming the skin. So again, I'm coming to a really important part. I'm coming to the bit that is the shortest point of the haircut, and it will give us the length towards the front. So my elevation is lower, and I'm starting from the corner. I'm starting from the corner and I'm working my way up. There's always a little bit more hair to cut each time, and because we're trying to create a rounded shape with our straight fingers. So straight fingers trying to create a round shape, and you're always going to get some little micro corners, I like to call them, in the work, which you just have to go back and refine. Now this is the first part, but after that we're going to do the cross check now at the bottom. So once the cross check at the bottom is done, it's going to allow us to just make sure everything's perfect before we move on. So this is really the foundation of our graduation. How are you, Natalie? Okay?
Fine.
Good. So what we'll do, guys, for those of you that are just tuning in, we'll give you a lovely little recap. I'm Michael, this is George. We are from Slade Hair Education, and what I've just done is I've just done the first part of the graduation. It's really the most vital part, so if you're just tuning in at the end of the video, I suggest you go back and watch this bit. It is the most important bit. But just to give a little recap, what we did was we started from a center section, a nice little triangle, center section. What we did was we pulled this hair out and we decided where we wanted our weight to be within the haircut. So this will really decide where you want the weight to be, how much build up you want of the haircut. So we can see here the graduation we get is really determined by the weight that we have. So this will really give us how much roundness of the head we're going to see. What we did after that was we took pivoting sections and we worked around the head. Now, the higher you go with this, the more high you go, the shorter you end up in the front. The lower you go, the longer it gets. So if you want to go for a long bob, it's better to pull your fingers back towards the middle. If you're going for a shorter bob, it's better to pull them up. But the best thing you can do is look at your fingers. Imagine your fingers where you're going. If your fingers are this high, can you imagine where the graduation is going to be at the end? If your fingers are here, can you imagine where the graduation is going to be at the end? So as you're working around the head and you're pivoting, the higher you go, the shorter it ends up. The lower you go, the longer it ends up. So it's really up to you what you want. And so we've done both sides now, but now we're going to cross-check our work. This is where we really get everything perfect. I'm only looking to get things 80% correct up to now. I'm really going to refine it and get it better at this point and make sure it's perfect before we move on to the next phase of the haircut. So the first thing we do is we check the two corners. So we have the two very corners of the haircut, and we just have to pull these down and we feel them. We feel the length, we make sure it's the same on both sides, and then we want to work our way up the head shape, just grabbing the hair from the very top and looking as we go at the balance of the haircut. Now, if we need to refine a millimeter or two, we can always come back in and just grab anything we feel like we need to. So once you've made sure that those points are the same on both sides, you now have a reasonable guideline from the top area. So from this point where my comb is, you have a guideline. But you really want to make sure the whole thing is correct from the middle and from the left and from the right. So what we're going to do is first, we're going to work through the middle and make sure that the middle is correct. So then what we can do is we can connect the top part we just checked to the middle as well. So we have the middle, we have the top, and then what we'll do is we'll connect the sides as well. So what I'll be doing is I'll be moving the hair away and I'll be cross-checking. Now at Slate, what we like to say is we like to say that horizontally is our shape and vertically is our technique. And so what I'm really doing now is I'm just checking my shape. I'm just looking that from left to right, everything is balanced as well. So I'm trying to not over elevate. I'm trying to keep things at the same level of elevation that I did when I first came through and pivoted. And I'm just taking off tiny amounts that I can see just to make sure it's correct. Now, how am I taking a clean section here? Well, it's all about the peace sign. What I'm doing is I'm actually doing a peace sign. I'm putting my peace sign into the comb. So one hand goes through the bottom and pushes the hair away, and the other hand goes to the top and pushes the hair away. And once you do that, you're grabbing a small section. So once the comb goes in, one finger goes underneath, one finger goes through the top, and it grabs a small section of hair to work with. And so again, just holding it with my thumb, pushing the hair away, taking a small amount, putting my finger under and over, and I'm just grabbing a small amount and I'm cross-checking it. So we're really not looking at the hair from top to bottom. I'm not bothered about the hair from top to bottom. We work through a vertical section, so I'm very sure my graduation's nice. I'm just trying to make sure that that center section is nice and balanced on both sides. So what we've done is we've done the top part, we've cross-checked the top part, we've now cross-checked the center. Now we're going to connect the side to the center as well. So we're just going to tilt the head a little bit, and then we're going to start working from this point to this point and connecting it in. So we take a curved section that incorporates a nice amount of the top and a nice amount of the middle. Remember, the top we've checked, so that's a guideline. The bottom we've checked, so that's a guideline. So what I'm doing now is I'm essentially trying to connect the dots at this point. So I'm really just lifting the hair up, and remember the comb goes in at the same direction as the section. The fingers follow the comb, and what I'm looking for is if there's any little inconsistencies, I'm just looking to clean it up as much as possible, so there's nothing stopping the flow of the graduation. Again, nice curved section coming from the top to the middle, so we have a guideline from the top, guideline from the middle, and then again what we do is we lift the comb up to the same point and the same angle that we had in our section, and again we just start to refine it.
Got some more questions?
Yes, we love questions, thank you.
One, do you always use that many clips, even in salon?
So no, actually I don't. The only reason I really separated the hair for you like this was to show you guys the sectioning, so it can be very clear for you. I feel like if I didn't have this many clips, maybe you guys wouldn't be able to understand about the specific sections I was talking about. So it's a really good question, and the answer is no. I don't normally use this many clips in a salon. I could work through this with just taking sections as I go, but as I said, I feel like for the education factor of what we're doing today, it's better if I have the clips in so you guys can really see what I'm doing completely. And I feel like it's good for people who aren't that confident yet to be able to really see better what you're doing and make sure you haven't missed any bits. You know, I find a lot of hairdressers sometimes get a little bit lost in what they're doing. And so I feel like it's better if you have to, it's better to section off and make sure that you don't get lost in your sectioning. So you know what you've done and you know what you haven't done essentially. So I think clips can be a great tool to use to help you see better and make sure you haven't missed any bits. But that's a great question and thank you for asking.
And the other one is, they think that for this haircut they have to keep the hair quite wet. It helps them. So what do you think? Is it a bad idea?
I always keep the hair very wet because I find the more wet the hair is, the more control you have of your haircut. And so for me, it's very, very important to make sure that the hair is nice and damp at all times. If the hair's not nice and damp, it means you lose tension and you lose control. You know, we all know that dry hair just tends to slip out the fingers as well. So that's really essentially what we've done so far. We've done the base of our graduation. We've done the first part. We've taken our pivoting section. So our first one, we've decided the weight of it. So we've really seen how heavy the graduation is going to be from the first section. After that, we started pivoting round. Now, the more higher we went with our pivot, the shorter you're going to end up at the front. The lower you go with the pivot, the heavier and the longer it's going to be. So really, if you want to go long, pull it more back. If you want to go high, pull it higher up, and you'll actually see where your fingers are forming. After that, we just did a little cross check from the two sides, made sure that was correct, did a little check over the top. Once that was good, and if we needed to refine it, we would. We then worked through horizontally in the middle, checking the middle, and then we connected the top to the side, the top to the middle, sorry, the top to the middle, and then the top to the middle, the top to the middle, the top to the middle. Don't worry, guys, if you haven't quite followed that completely as well, we've got our head sheets here, and we're going to do the head sheets for you live on our Facebook channel. So that's Slate Hair Education's Facebook, and after this video finishes, we'll be going live on that. So we're coming on to our next section now. You can see that this section incorporates the hair up to the top of the ear. So this is another very good point. People always wonder what goes behind and what goes on top. Well, you see this hair here? This hair is literally below where the ear sits. And so this hair will be coming behind the ear. It will not be coming over the top of the ear. If you pull this hair over the top of the ear, naturally it will sit behind and then you'll get a long piece. So when you're doing a one length or anything like that, it's very important to take the hair that naturally sits behind the ear and pull it behind rather than pulling it over the top. And then when it falls back, you'll find a long piece as well. So what we'll do is we'll remove the hair on both sides that incorporates this area to the top of the ears, making sure the hair is nice and damp so that it's not getting in our way at all as well. Beautiful. So I'm just going to wet down the hair. Ooh. So by the way, I'm Michael. This is the beautiful Natalie, who's getting a beautiful makeover with us today. This is the beautiful George as well. He's here to ask me any questions you have. So if you have any questions, or let us know where you're from, we'd love to hear it as well. Cool. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking my next section. I'm going to take again my center parting that I had from the beginning as well. And I'm going to work through one side first and then the second side afterwards. And so this is a bit of a thick section. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be splitting it in two. Now my secret to taking nice curved sections is this. If you find the center of the spine, you know that you're in the middle of the haircut. You can actually put the comb down flat and then turn it. And at this point, if you hold it more central, you'll find that you're grabbing the correct amount of hair afterwards as well. So it's just a really nice thing. And I'll show you guys that again. So don't worry if you missed it. What we're doing is we're using the hand like a bit of a pivot here. And we're going to work through one side first and then the other. So again, finding the center, curving it flat, and then holding it in the middle and coming down, grabbing the hair that you don't want to work with yet, and just pulling it over out your way. So just taking it out of our way at this point. I'll put in a little clip so it stays secure, and I'll grab this one and put in a little clip so it stays secure. As I said, I'm using a lot of clips here so you guys can see better. Now at this point, it's really important to comb the hair. So you want the hair to be nicely combed so it's ready for you. It's almost like preparing the house to be built. You're combing the hair so that your hands aren't interrupted. Now, there's a thing where you could start here. Like I said, a lot of people start from the middle, but I find once they get round, they end up too short, and it's too short in the front. And really the front is what we care about. The front length is what the client cares about. So what I do for safety reasons, and I find it works best, is actually starting at the corner. So if you start here at the corner, what you'll find is that you've decided the length that you're going to end up already. So from that, you're very safe. Rather than starting from the center and working down, you start from down and you work up. This is a much safer way to work, and you'll find that actually you control the length in the front much better, which is really, really important. It's something that we really want. But to make sure that you've got a nice smooth line, we do something called walk the dog. We always come back and we just go from the middle to the bottom again. So that's right, from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. So by that way, you're just grabbing any inconsistencies you have and you're making sure the graduation's sitting really nice. We do the same on the second side. We start again from the corner and we work our way across. Now, one thing I did to really help me maintain the right length is I'm using my fingers as a bit of a guideline. So I have a bit of a measuring stick here, so I can really see what length I'm going for with my fingers. So I could feel how far away I am from the neck, If I lift it too high, I can't touch the neck anymore, so I know that that's wrong elevation. So I'm looking both where my fingers are going, so the length that I'm going from my fingers, but I'm also feeling how far away I am from the head shape to make sure that I'm doing it correct. And so each time you pick up some hair, you should have a little bit more to cut from what you already did, just because you're trying to create a curved finish with straight fingers. And so working through that, you then connect to the middle. And what you can do is you can do what we said, which was walking the dog, a very Slate technical term, and just come back and grab any little inconsistencies you have so that you have a smooth and beautiful flow of your graduation. So that's really nice. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cross-check this section because I'm still working on one more. So I'm going to do one more so we've done all the graduation up to the top of the ears, and then after that I'll cross-check. So again, we're just taking the hair out. Beautiful. We're going to make sure that it's nice and wet so we have more control of our shape. So we really want to control our technique and our shape. So we're adding more water to it. Perfect. So again, combing the hair really well, making sure the hair is ready for us, making sure it's prepared. We're going in the right direction. And so it's all ready for us. So the less we can stop, the better. We don't want to grab the hair, stop, comb, grab the hair, stop, comb, because at that point we'll forget our elevation. We'll be moving inconsistently. So it's better to really comb the hair nicely so that once you start, you've got nothing that's going to stop you from moving forward. So we're just going through and we're just combing the hair. And we work our way to the middle. And then remember, once we come from the top, we work our way back down just to make sure we've got no inconsistencies and we've grabbed all the hair that we want to as well. So really what I'm doing is I'm not using over direction as such. I'm naturally using the over direction that's in my fingers. But what's really creating the shape is the angle of my fingers. So if you can see the finger angle, what it does is it's coming and it's going all the way to the back. And so if my fingers were different, then the shape would be different. So it's my fingers that I'm looking at that are creating the shape for me. And that's a really easy way to think about it. The shape that you're creating is due to where your finger position is. And so each time you pull up higher to get a little bit more lift, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to lift the back up and create this beautiful graduation. And once we've come to the middle, we just walk our way back as well and just grab any little inconsistencies that we might have. Cool. So guys, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Let us know where you're from. Please like and share. We really appreciate it. We love giving free education on hairbrain. We've been doing it for almost 2 years now, so we can't thank the community enough as well. So that's a really nice graduation that's starting to build. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check as well, because we've come to the point where we've done a major part or a major zone of the haircut before we move on to the top and we move on to the length of the front. So we're just going to be cross-checking this now. What we're doing is, because we worked through horizontally like this, I think the shape is very nice now. So this shape is nice. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be doing a little check of the balance on both sides. So I'm just going to be grabbing the hair from behind the ears, pulling it down, and just making sure the lengths are the same on both sides that we can feel. So once I'm happy with that, what I'll be doing now is I'll be working through the center. This is just to check the graduation. So I'm not checking the shape as such. I'm just checking the graduation. So what we do is we pull the hair out and we just have a little check that from the bottom to the top, everything is nicely blended. One thing that will help you blend things more is lifting things a little bit higher. So if you elevate the hair a little bit more than what you did when you first cut it, as long as you're not cutting off too much, you're not changing the shape, what you're going to be doing is you're just going to be softening the graduation. And this really helps with things like blending, you know. So if you don't want to get any weight lines in the haircut, this is a beautiful thing to do, is just lift the hair up, just smooth through it and just elevate a little bit more than what you did when you first cut it. And you can see the amount of hair we're cutting is very minimal as well. So we're not changing anything here. We're just making sure that blends gorgeous. So again, just moving the hair out of our way, taking the vertical section, making sure we're grabbing the hair and we're combing it to the right place as well. And then just elevating the hair a little bit more. So that's a beautiful secret of mine, is just elevating a little bit more, helps blend everything a little bit better. So guys, try it in the salon and you'll see that you get that really nice, beautiful blended graduation. Now for the last section is obviously the length at the front as well. So we just want to be very careful here. We want to make sure that we're pulling the hair a little bit more back. So there's a bit more over direction here. There's a bit more pulling the hair back. Now if you see that you're actually cutting a bit of hair off, like a little bit too much, more than 1 millimeter or 2, you're changing the length in the front. And so that's not a good idea. So you just want to pull the hair a little bit further back. So I've done one side, and now I'll do the second side as well. So again, just taking vertical sections. What you don't want to do is you don't want to interrupt the hair from its natural place that it's sitting. So you can see the hair sits naturally here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it to where it naturally comes out. And I'm just going to be elevating a little bit higher. And I'm just going to be refining that graduation. So it's just a little dust, just to make sure everything blends really nicely. And then we just comb down and we see that flow is beautiful. So this is a real good secret. So I've done about 2 sections there. I've checked the bottom of the graduation before, and now I'm just checking that that top part we just did blends nicely. And so this is going to allow me to not have to keep rechecking and rechecking. I've really checked what I've done already. And so now I'm looking to just make it blend. Tell us if that makes sense, guys. Tell us if everything I've said makes sense so far. If you're following it, if you want me to go back, I can always go back as much as you want and explain more. That's no problem as well. So just let us know that everything is making sense for you. But that blend is really nice. And you just check again. Beautiful. So we've come to another major part as well. So what we did was we worked through the center, we pivoted round, through the other side, pivoted around, created our graduation, lifted up. After that, we took horizontal sections and we started from the corner, because this is the length that we get in the front. So it's very important for me that that length is maintained and it's correct. And once we had done that, where we worked through horizontally, we just came back vertically and we just cross-checked everything as well. So guys, let us know if that's making sense. And please let us know where you're from and if you have any questions.
We've got people from Israel, England, Cyprus, Greece.
Amazing.
James says hi.
Amazing. So James is our cutting director, and he's right now watching us. So he's our cutting director, so I need to make sure we're doing a good job today. Hi James. Cool. So what we're doing now is we're moving on to the next section.
Got I think one important question.
Oh, good. I like questions.
Elevation to soften aside. If during a cross-check you need to make a correction, will you fix that in a cross-check, or will you go back and fix it with a regular sectioning?
So I like this question. It's a very good question.
That's why I stopped with
I think the answer is quite simple for me. If it's a major problem, if it's a real big problem, if you're talking about a centimeter of difference, you need to go back to your original way of working. If we're talking about 1 millimeter, you can take it while you cross-check. So it's all about the amount of issue that you have. If it's a fundamental issue, if we're talking about a good centimeter problem, then you should go back to the beginning and check it again. If in fact it's just a small problem, a couple of millimeters or a millimeter, then really I believe it's okay to take that off while you cross-check. So it's about the amount of the problem that you're facing, I believe. Cool, I hope that answers your question. Amazing. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the section which incorporates to the front of the ears, but what I'm doing here is I'm just going to subdivide it as well. So I'm going to take this subdivide, and you're going to see what I've already done here is I'm going to take the same thing and I'm going to come down. Now actually the shape of the section is what I'm trying to create underneath. So if I was going to try and create a much steeper graduation, so if the graduation angle was going to be like that, my section should mirror it. Because my sections are like this, I'm going to try and keep my graduation as such. So the way I always try and explain it to students is, it's like when you go and get a tattoo. You really want the tattoo artist to perhaps draw it before they commit it to your body. And I think it's the same for us when we do hairdressing. I think it's really important to actually draw your haircut with your sectioning before you commit to cutting it. So what I'm doing is I'm following the section with my fingers, and that way I've already sketched the haircut before I'm committing myself to cutting it. So it's allowing me to really see what I'm doing before I commit to doing it as well. And so that's the one side done, and now I'm going to go it back and just come and refine it again to make sure there's no real corners there or weights or anything like that. So we just always start from the corner. Remember, that's my big secret, guys. My big secret to getting the right length is actually starting from the corner and working your way back. If you start from the middle and you work your way to the front, you might end up too short at the end. So it's really important to start from the corner low and work your way up. This will help you control much better what you're doing and make sure that the length that you're hitting is the right length. So again, starting from the corner and working our way up, making sure the hair's nicely combed as we work, so that we're grabbing all the hair consistently as well. Using tension, because tension is going to allow it to blend, and especially at this point, there's nothing with the scalp that's going to pull back or deform the shape of the head. So it's really nice. We're pushing the weight forwards again, because this whole haircut's about pushing the weights forward. So now we're pushing the weight forwards as we work. Great. So we got that last section now as well on top. And then we'll be doing the secret of the front, which is the big secret of this whole haircut. This is how I get my graduation to sit in the right place with less graduation, I believe, than anyone else. So let's take in a nice bit of spray. Beautiful. So if you guys are enjoying this education, please share and please like. We really appreciate it. And so now, again, the secret is to come in from the corner. This corner is the length you're going to end up in the front. So it's very important that I hold the hair down at the length that I want to create the length at the front. If I get this length wrong, the front's going to be wrong. That's why it's so important to just make sure that you're cutting it at the right length. Hence why we start from this point. So I always like to start from the hardest point and then move on. I think if you can get the hard part out of the way first, it's going to allow you to just focus on the rest of it and not worry. So I like to get the hard things out the way first. So what we do is once we hit the middle, we then do the same thing. We come back and we start working from the center towards the front again. And we grab any little inconsistencies. Beautiful. So again, we can see the shapes really building nicely, coming along beautifully. So now we go to our second side again, combing the hair nicely down. And again, what I'm doing is I'm looking at where the length is going at the front. I'm also feeling with my fingers. So I've done a little measurement with my fingers to make sure I'm at the right place. And then we work through again, nicely elevating every time. So every time you move up the head, you're elevating more and more each time you work, each time you work, each time you work. Beautiful.
Each time you're cutting the new section to previous, you're elevating?
Yeah, so we are elevating. Now, you know, that's a good question because people always kind of ask, well, what elevation should it be? How high should I lift the hair to? And to be honest, the answer is kind of already there for you. So whenever you've done this graduation, there is a certain amount of graduation in it. What I mean is there's already an angle that you've created in the hair. If you elevate too high, it's going to end up being too short, and what you're going to be doing is rounding it. If you elevate too low and you connect to a lower point, what you're going to have is you're going to have a bit of hair that sticks out and doesn't connect to your graduation. So really there's only one place that you can elevate the next section to where it connects, and if we hold the hair out, you see the elevation that we have there. And so that is the correct elevation. And so if you're not sure how much elevation you should use, you can always come back and check vertically. So vertically is really what we're doing to check our elevation. So if we come back vertically, we can have a good look and we can just see where the elevation is. So what I'll do is when we do the next section, I will be showing you again that secret of how to find the correct elevation. But for now, before I move on to the all-important front area, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have this opportunity and I'm going to cross-check the front again, or the back, sorry, again. So what I've done is, if you can imagine, I've worked through horizontally. And so in our slate world, horizontal is our shape. And so we can see that this is the shape that we've created now, and then this way is our technique. So this is our graduation. So I've done my triangle shape, I've done my shape where it goes shorter in the back, longer in the front. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross-check vertically to make sure that my graduation, my technique is sitting nicely. So I do the same thing I did before. I have a nice vertical section through the top, work it through the center. Now, I'm not worried about taking very small sections here because what I'm actually trying to do here is make everything blend beautifully. So I'm just dusting the hair to make sure that it blends beautifully. So for me, actually, the bigger the section, the more it blends, the better for me, because I want more to blend. So if you imagine, if you try and do this in 35 little sections, what chance do you have that 35 little sections don't connect? Well, there's quite a big chance. If you can do it in 5 big sections, then there's a much better chance they connect. So this is only for the cross-check, but when I cross-check, I'm trying to take big sections because I'm not trying to change my shape. I'm just trying to make sure that everything I do blends nicely. And remember, I'm elevating more than what I did when I first created it, because I really want to make sure that I have every chance of making it as soft and as blended as possible. So that's a really good secret, is making sure that when you're cross-checking vertically, you're pulling the hair up, you're just dusting the hair, and you just want to make sure that everything is blending really nicely. Beautiful. And then the last section, and after that we'll move on to the front as well.
Elsa says that she likes your explanation. Can you show her a color as well?
I would love to, but I'm afraid I can't color. I can only cut and style, so I could show you, but I don't think your clients will be very happy with me after that. It might be a lot of fun though, so we could always try that next time. I think the thing is, a lot of people need to think about cutting hair the same as they think about coloring hair. You know, every single colorist thinks about what tone they have, what's the undertone of the hair color before they start. They think, oh, I want to make something blue, therefore I need to do a certain different color. You know, you don't just throw blue on it. You have to think of the undertones and what really neutralizes it. But unfortunately, in cutting, not many cutters really think about the head shape that they have. And the head shape is really, it's the undertone of what you're working with. So whatever you do will mold differently around different people's head shapes. So if you have someone with a very flat head, you're going to have to go for a heavier graduation in order for it to really have a nice head shape. And then the truth is that if you have someone with a head that sticks out a lot, you can go for a flatter graduation and it will actually look the same result. And so that's the interesting thing. The same cut, or if you cut the same way on 2 different people, it will never look the same, because at the end of the day, everyone's head shape's different, and so it will form around the head shape. So what you have to do is really you have to imagine the head shape and imagine where the hair's falling. Because I always say that the head shape is like the canvas that your art sits on, and so it will really mold around it. But thank you. So what we're doing now is we've finished the first major part. Now we've done our graduation underneath. I'm Michael Pizzolides. This is the lovely Georgia Hileos. This is the beautiful Natalie as well. We've come to a really major part in the haircut now. It's where we do the front. And this is where all the fun is. This is where you really want to make sure that you're getting things right as well. So I have a little secret here to getting it correct as well. I see a lot of people making a mistake, in my opinion, when they do this haircut. Now, when I talk about mistakes in haircutting, I'm not talking about anything else than not creating what you imagine in your mind. So if you do a haircut and it's 100% what you imagined it was going to be in your mind, then it's correct. If you do a haircut and it's not exactly as you imagined it in your mind, then I believe it's not the correct haircut. And so what we want to do is we imagined in our mind the length that we're going to have in this haircut. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my little secret here, which is actually hold the hair down as a one length. So instead of creating graduation, or you see a lot of people when they cut, they kind of pull the hair back, they over direct it. Now, this is fine, but no one can really tell me 100% where the hair is going to fall to, and how much graduation you're going to have, how much graduation you're going to have to cut out afterwards. And so what we do is we actually pull the hair down as a one length and then connect the graduation afterwards. This gives us maximum control and allows us, if we want to change the haircut afterwards as well. So if we feel like we need to, we can always cut it a little bit shorter if we feel like it. But at this point, what we're doing is we're giving ourselves maximum chance of hitting the right place by pulling it down. And so we've got this beautiful one length here now. And we've gone to the exact place we wanted to because we've held the hair down. So if we had have pulled the hair up, we might not have known where it was going to sit exactly. It might have sat at the jaw, it might have sat a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but this way we're sure. And so now you have a bit of an issue. You have an issue where you can say the back is graduated and the front is now a one length. And so what you have to do is you now have to actually graduate the front in order to connect it. And so if we pull the hair up, what we find is we find a corner. And this corner is where your one length is connecting to your graduation. And so by picking the hair up, what we're doing is we're going to start graduating the front as well. And so we're not cutting the very front hair because that is our guideline of the length that we want to create. We're looking at the hair underneath, and the hair underneath is to make sure that we're not cutting any holes in it. And what we can do now is we can just come straight back and connect into our graduation that we had cut from before. And so this is what we're doing now to connect the front into the graduation. So now it's beautiful. It's been graduated from the back to the front, and we've done it with absolute pinpoint precision to make sure it's the length we want. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the same on the second side. Again, making sure the hair is wet for maximum tension. And guys, this is the real secret of the whole haircut. So it's really, really, really important, this part. Really important, because we really want to make sure the length in the front is correct. It's the secret to making sure that it's exact right length that your client asked for as well. If that makes sense, guys, give us a thumbs up and let us know. So again, we're pulling the head down. I'm feeling where I am. I'm feeling that I'm at the same length that I did on the other side as well. And so I can really make sure with pinpoint precision that I'm cutting the hair to the exact right place that I did on the first side. Okay, you can always cross-check as well, which is really important. We just want to make sure it's the same length. Now what I do for safety is I normally go just a touch longer than I think, just to give myself a chance in case I do it wrong. So if you go too short on the second side, you end up having to do the first side again, which we don't really want. So it's better to go a little bit longer than you think and come back and refine it than go too short straight away. So that's what I always do. I always go a little bit longer than I think on the second side, just to give myself a chance to refine it as well. So again, just going slowly, just cross-checking as we go, making sure we're hitting the right length. That's beautiful. Now we're lifting the hair up and we're going to start to graduate it in. So we're just picking up the hair, finding the point where we connect from the front and just pulling it over. And so making sure we're not cutting the hair from the underneath, because the hair underneath is our outline now. And so we're making sure that we're only cutting the hair from the top and not from the bottom. And now we have this beautiful graduation which is connected from the back to the front. So we really got to make sure that the weight is pushed towards the front so that the hair flicks in nicely and pushes forwards as well. So we can see that the hair's talking to us and it's saying it's happy. So I'm happy when the hair's happy. Beautiful. We've come to a really major part now. So what I want to do is give you a little bit of a recap. For those of you that are just tuning in, thanks for tuning in. So what we're going to say is we started from a section in the middle at the back. And the reason why we chose to start here and not any lower and not any higher is about the weight. So if we wanted the head to stick out more, what we did is we went lower with our section, because the lower you go with your first section, the more it pushes the hair out. The higher you go with your first section, the more likely you are to go flatter. So if you have someone with a flat head shape, you're better to go lower. If you have someone with a head shape that really sticks out, or you want to go for a more modern flat graduation, you're better to go higher, as you have more of a chance of going flatter as well. So once we did the first section, we pivoted, we took our first section, we decided the length of our graduation. After that, we started pivoting round. Now, the more we pivoted up, the shorter we ended up in the front. The more we pulled towards the middle and the back, the longer we get towards the front as well. So if you want it short, you pull the hair up. If you want it long, you pull the hair down. After that, we started from the corner, because the corner is the most hardest part of the haircut. It's the length towards the front. If you do this wrong, it means the whole haircut is wrong in the front. So what we did is we started from the corner and we worked our way towards the middle, and we started from the other side from the corner and we worked our way to the middle. We then, once worked into the middle, we walked our way back. And so we did this all the way to behind the ears. After that, we took a section from the ears and we pulled it down in a one length. We decided the length in the front, and then what we did was we pulled the hair up and connected it to our graduation. So that's a really good place right now. So if you like it and that makes sense, guys, please give us a thumbs up, give us a like, and give us a share. If you have any questions at this point, George will be more than happy to ask them for.
We've got another one.
Yes, love questions.
If a client has a strong growth patterns, do you take that in consideration while cutting, or relying on blow dry to neutralize the growth?
So what I always do is, before I start any haircut, there's always two things that I do before I start. I always check the head shape completely. So I will 100% have seen the head shape and analyzed the head shape before I started. And the other thing I will do is I will always analyze the hair. So the texture of it, the growth patterns of it, as the growth patterns will have a huge part of what I do with the haircut and what will work and what won't work. And so in this case, the beautiful Natalie's hair growth patterns actually are very good for me. They all sit out and down. Now, if they didn't sit out and down, what I would have done was I would have had to go for a heavy graduation in order for it to sit nice and naturally. I think you can hide a lot of stuff with blow dries, but I think unless your client comes in for a blow dry every week, they're probably not going to be able to recreate what you do. So I think it's very important, and our philosophy is really about having hair that sits naturally in the right place. So we really look for a haircut, that will sit naturally nicely. So we don't want the client to have to blow dry unless they want to. So something that sits nice and naturally. And if you want something to sit nice and naturally, you have to work with the growth patterns, not against it. So if you work against it, you're going to end up having to do something like shaving the hairlines, which personally I don't like to do too much. You know, I'll do it when I have to, but I think less is more in that respect. So if you want to shave a little bit because you really want to get that nice shape in, I think that's okay. But I think otherwise it can be a really beautiful thing to work with the growth patterns and try and find something that's going to sit nice and naturally in the right place as well. So I hope that answers your question. If not, let us know. If it does, give it a thumbs up. Okay, so I'm just taking my sections towards the top now as well. I'm having a little check of the balance as we go, making sure it's the same on both sides. Pulling the hair out my way. I think, again, a lot of people get a bit confused when they're cutting. They kind of lose where they're at with the sectioning. And so keeping everything really nice and out the way is a great way for you to make sure that you don't get lost. You know what you have done and you know what you haven't done as well. Beautiful. So now that's out the way. So before, what we did was we combed the hair nice in its natural place, and at this point we've always started from the corner behind the ears because we didn't have a guideline in the front. So we worked from the corner behind the ears, and then we connected the one length, and then we connected the graduation. Now we're in a really good position, a really fortunate place, where we actually have a guideline for the whole of the haircut. So we have a guideline from the front to the back. And so what I'm going to be doing now is I'm actually going to be working from the front of the haircut all the way towards the back of the haircut. And what this is going to allow me to do is going to allow me to really keep the flow of the haircut going. I don't have to stop at all, and it keeps the safest part secure. So the safest bit, the bit that we want to be the safest with, is the front, because obviously that is the length that the client sees at the end of the day. So we want to make sure that we're in a good place. So once we've done that, we want to just walk our way back and make sure that there's no inconsistencies. What you can see as well is I haven't really cross-checked the last section, because what I find is if you keep cross-checking as you work, if there's any major problems, you're going to have to do it again. So I think it's better to get a fair bit of the haircut done and then cross-check it. So you still check your balance, you still check that you're going generally in the right direction, but any little details can be fixed when you actually get to a major part. So another thing is you've got to think when you cross-check is you're working horizontally and you're going to cross-check vertically. If you did two sections and then you checked, and you did 2 sections and then you check, perhaps these 2 that you just checked won't connect. So it's better to actually have all 4 out and then make sure that with one cross check that they all blend beautifully as well. So that's something that I like to do. I like to go through a couple of sections and then make sure what I'm blending is I'm blending a large amount rather than a smaller amount as well. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't make sense, guys, and I'll try and explain it in another way. So again, we start from the front for safety. We start lower, and then we start working our way up the head shape as we go. So we go from a low elevation in the front, and we start working up to a higher elevation as we go towards the back. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually walking around. So I start from the front and I walk with my section. I try and stay in front of my section as I work. So I'm just walking around my sections, just elevating as I go. And that allows me to control the shape even better each time. So just working with it. So once I've got to the middle, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cross-checking, sorry, not cross-checking, but going over what I've just cut by walking back. So I'm just walking my body and my sections back, and I'm just grabbing any little inconsistencies I find along the way, just to make sure the flow is good and just to make sure that the weight is really being pushed forward, because the whole point of this haircut is to push the weight forwards as you go. So again, just seeing, and if we comb it down, we can see how the hair is falling. We can see it's falling really nicely. It's all curving in, and that tells us that what we're doing is a good job. So I'm going to do one more section, and then I'm going to cross-check what I've done, and then we'll be working towards the top. So it's really just a repetition now as well.
So just to answer one question that pop up twice, the scissor is Yasaka.
Ah, yes, so my beautiful Yasaka scissors. So this is a great Japanese brand. They're very sturdy, and they actually are very reasonably priced in my opinion. You know, I got these for about, I think, £160, English pounds. And for a pair of scissors, that's a pretty good price. People tend to pay 800, 900, 1,000. And really, I think if you're going for this kind of precise cutting that we're doing, these beautiful little small scissors really do the job amazing. So some beautiful little Yasakas. So they're quite fat blades, but they give really nice clean lines, and they're really stable as well. So
I've got a lot of people saying that one of their favorite haircuts, one of the haircuts that are never gonna be outdated or out of fashion. What is your opinion on that?
Oh, of course, 100%. You know, this will always be back in fashion again, and we've seen it being relived so many times. You know, from the roaring 20s with the worker woman who had that amazing, you know, bob in war times, to, you know, the 60s with Sassoon, and I think even to now, you know, from the 90s with the Victoria Beckham and so on and so forth. So I think it really always is a timeless piece that just comes back. And I think for hairdressers, let's face it, it's one of the funnest haircuts to do ever. So Natalie didn't realize when she told me, I was so happy. I kept it in. So it's really one of the most difficult, but one of the most fun haircuts as well we can do possibly.
I think it's the first time that we are demonstrating that?
Yeah, I think it's the first time we're showing you a triangle graduation live. So yeah, have fun, guys.
Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. So what we're doing is, again, we're just starting from the front. We're working our way back as we go. So what I'm doing is I'm actually stepping around as I work. So I'm combing the hair from the roots. I'm pulling it out, and I'm just connecting it through as I go, really building the weight here. You know, you're imagining where the hair's falling on the head shape as well, coming round to the back and making sure from the back that we're flat in the back. So, you know, we don't want to have anything that is coming into a point in the back. We just want to have something that's nice and flat in the back. And then we're going to walk the dog back. That's our very technical term at Slade, just walking yourself back as you go around. Because what's happening here is you're trying to create a curved shape with very straight, flat fingers. So what you always get is you always get some little corners that just need to be refined as you go. So now you're getting a really nice, smooth blend with it, sitting gorgeous. And that's, I think, a little secret. So sometimes I think the secret is to really, as you go, you're checking as you work. So each time I'm coming from the front to the back, I'm just checking again and coming again from the back to the front. So it's just walking always whatever you've done, just going over it again and having another little check, another little look.
So I heard that you have some exciting news up in London.
Yes, so we do have some very exciting news in London as well. We are just finishing the final touches on refurbishing our London Academy. So our London Academy is literally 2 minutes walk from Oxford Circus Station, Oxford Circus, Regent Street, and it's in the area called Soho. And so it's a really beautiful space. We're getting all the latest equipment installed for education, and we're opening it up on the 2nd of December. We hope to be open and running in our new academy. So we're really excited for that, guys. So if you follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, you'll be able to see the progress of the academy, and we'll be able to show you as we open it as well. And so we've launched the first date in our London Academy, which is on the 19th and the 20th of January. That will be the first official group class we're doing. But we also have some other good news as well. Last time we did a live, we had a little competition of who could win a free date with Slate for education in our new London Academy. And Maria Pocket, I can't pronounce her surname, but Maria Pocket has won, and we have already told her about it as well, so she was very excited. So congratulations to Maria on winning the free day of education in our London Academy. And so we're really excited. Yeah, so she will be our first official student coming into our new London Academy to get some education with us as well. So if you guys want to see anything about what we're doing, please follow our Slate Hair Education's Facebook page or our Slate Hair Education Instagram. You'll be able to see what we're up to, about our academy, what new courses we're offering as well, and yeah, what competitions we're running, so you could get yourself also some free education. So it's really exciting news. The new Slate Academy will be opening very soon in central London. Really nice. Beautiful. So I'm just coming through, doing a little cross check here as I work. So we're just coming through vertically and just having a little check from the top to the bottom that everything is blending for us nicely. So we want to see a nice smooth blend. We're just taking very little off as we work. For this front section, we're pulling the hair more back as well, just to give us a bit of safety in that front area. Beautiful. So remember, guys, as well, if you want to see the sectioning patterns for this, we're going to be going live on our Slate Hair Education's Facebook page, and you'll be able to check it out. If you want to see some of the other lives we've done in the past, we have quite a few of them up on our website. So that's slatehair.com. That's slatehair.com, and you can see a lot of the other hairbrain lives we've done over the years as well. So feel free to go and check it out. So what we're doing now is we're just checking our technique. We're just working from what we've done, the underneath that we've cross-checked towards the top. So we're just taking nice little vertical sections, and we're just pulling the hair out, and we're making sure there's a nice flow from the top to the bottom.
So one question, usually, do you like using a razor for this haircut?
Yeah, I love using a razor for this haircut. I think, you know, the thing that you have to understand when using a razor is it's absolutely no different from using a pair of scissors. The elevation is the same, the over direction is the same, the shapes you're building are the same, the tension is the same. Everything's the same that you need to create it. It's just the end result feels different. So the way I like to say it is, imagine drawing a picture with a pencil, and that would be like using a razor. Imagine drawing a picture with a pen, that would be scissors. And imagine a permanent marker, that would be what clippers are like. And so what they do is you still draw with them, you could still write your name with every single one of them, but it would just give you a very different feeling, a different effect. So I think it really depends on what effect you're going for, what's the feeling you're going for. But if you want to create a nice head shape and a nice shape within your haircut, you still have to do what I'm doing now. You still have to take sections, you still have to use elevation and over direction in order to create what you're going for. So I hope that answers your question.
Maria Berko says thank you.
Yes, Maria, we look forward to having you in our new academy in London. So you will be our first official student in our new academy, and we can't wait to see this. So congratulations on answering that question correct. And the question actually that she won was, what does short hair do to long hair? What does short hair do to long hair? So we want to see, Maria got that question right. How many of you know that question, know the answer to that question?
It's more competition.
No, this one's not a competition, the answer's already there. So that was the question, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. Have a little discussion, and by the time this haircut's finished, I'll tell you what Maria won from what was the correct answer. Great. And what we'll do when we're going on our next Hairbrain Live, which will be on the 18th of December, we'll run another competition for someone to win a place at our London Academy on our first group class in London, which is on the 19th and 20th of January in our London Academy. So if you watch our Hairbrain Live on the 18th of December, we'll be running another competition to see who wins the place, a free place at our first course in our new London Academy. So it's very exciting, guys. Very, very exciting.
I've got one more question.
Yes.
So if you want the thicker design, you go less than 45 degrees on the nape.
So if you want a heavier graduation, if you want the graduation to stick out more, so if you want this to stick out more, you have to go for something which is more down. So you need to pull the hair more down. If you want a heavier graduation, something that sticks out the head more, you need to pull more down. Now, that also doesn't include the length in the outline. So if you want the outlines longer, it means you need to pull further away from the head as well. So this needs to be further away from the head. You could have something really short that goes heavy, or something really short that goes flat. You have to then pull the hair out, and you can go heavy or flat depending on the length here. But remember also, it's how much you pull the hair towards the middle that ends up longer, or how much you pull the hair up to end up shorter as well. And so what we're doing now is we're just continuing in the same way that we worked before. We're combing the hair nicely, letting it fall into its natural position. So I'm really looking at the roots here. I'm looking at where the hair falls naturally. I'm allowing the hair to fall where it naturally wants to fall. And then I'm going to start working from the front again and work towards the back.
We've got some answers, if you're interested.
Yeah, let's hear the answers.
One is supported or stand it up.
Yeah.
The other one is short hair, push it long hair.
Ah, so this is the correct answer we're looking for. The answer we're looking for is short hair pushes long hair. So the way I like to always talk about it and joke about it is that the short hair is a bully, and the short hair pushes the long hair. It's the only time that the little one's the bully, but it's very, very true. What we find is that short hair always pushes long hair, and the way you can imagine it is if you want to imagine this haircut as an example, the back is short and the front slowly gets longer and longer. And what does this haircut do? It pushes all the length and all the weight towards the front. So naturally, this haircut pushes the hair forwards because the short hair here pushes that long hair forwards. Now, if you imagine a round haircut that goes shorter in the front, longer at the back, what does the short hair at the front do? It pushes the hair off the face as well. So really, you have to think of the short hair. It's a bit like a bully. The short hair really bullies the long hair and pushes it away as well. So well done, whoever's got that correct.
That was Mark Hampton.
Well done, Mark. Mark, you need to tune in for the next Hairbrain Live to see if you can win a day with us in London as well.
So one more question. Do you design the baseline length at the same time too?
Yeah, so I go around about, because what we're going to do is we're going to refine that, okay? Because we want to give it quite a nice crisp outline at the end of this. So what we're doing is we're going to actually be coming back and refining that afterwards. So what I've done is I've gone for a really basic length that I want to get to. I've gotten as close as I want to get for that actual length. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be coming back and shortening it as I'm refining the haircut as well. So we're going for a general length that we want in the bottom. There's no point in going for something really long if we want to go quite short. And then what we're going to do is we're going to refine it after. But you guys saw the way that I did the front where I pulled it down into a one length. And then afterwards I refined it. What that allowed me to do is get it really very close to where I want to. So rather than pulling all the hair back like a lot of people do, having loads of graduation and cutting off about that much, we'll really be cutting minimal off at the end just to make sure we're refining it properly. So last section's on the top, and then I'm going to start cross-checking the whole thing. Now, my cross-check, when I cross-check the whole haircut, it's really the secret, guys. This is really, after this section, it's really the secret to get the most beautiful blended graduated bob. Everything I've shown you now is how to get it precisely where you want. But the next bit, the cross check, is really how you make sure that haircut just sits absolutely beautiful as well. So we're combing the hair to the natural fall, and in this case it's sitting a little bit forward, and what we're doing is we're going to comb the hair out, and we're going to cut the front, and we're going to work from the front to the back. So it's exactly the same thing we've done so far. It's just you've got to look at the growth patterns. If the hair here doesn't grow to the back, you're better off to cut it from the side. If you pull the hair too far towards the back and it doesn't sit there naturally, what you'll find is actually what you're going to create is a little hole at the end of it. So what we're doing is we're pulling the hair back, but we're not pulling it all the way to the back. We're kind of trying to see where the hair falls naturally as well. So again, just coming back, and what I'm doing now is I'm finding all those little inconsistencies, but I'm really pushing the hair forwards as well. I'm making sure that the flow of the haircut is being pushed towards the front. We want to make sure that the hair is being pushed towards the front. That's the whole point of this haircut. The point of this haircut is for all the weight and the length to be pushed towards the front as well. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to watch this. We really, really appreciate it. We love doing education with Hairbrained. We feel very privileged to be with you guys, so we really appreciate it. So thank you all for tuning in so much. Okay, so again, doing the same thing on the second side, just pulling the hair gently back, just to see where it falls naturally, and then just walking our way back towards the front. So you can see my secret to this is really starting from the front and working your way towards the back, and then coming again from the back towards the front, and just letting the hair fall. So who's ready for my little secret of how to make this sit absolutely beautifully? All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually bring the chair down because we want to have more length here. Now, remember I told you that you can actually elevate more than what you did when you originally started, and that helps blend. Now we're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to do it on a pretty epic level. We're going to really go for some major elevation now, and we're not going to be changing our shape, we're not going to be changing our technique. We're just going to be refining it, and that is the secret here. The secret is about refinement. It's not about changing your shape or changing your technique, it's about refining it. All graduation have points in the top. That's how you know their graduation is a point. If it's a very steep point, it means it's a one length. If it's a very low point, it's graduation. Now, if it's too heavy, you can always make that a little bit less, but it's important to keep the point. If it keeps the point, it is in fact graduation. So what we do now is we come from the bottom and we start dusting the top. I'm not looking at the hair here that's clamped into my fingers. I'm only looking at the hair that's at the bottom of my fingers, just to make sure that we are only looking at a bit that's clean in my fingers, to make sure that I'm not cutting too much out when I work as well. So just refining it, just elevating a lot as well, just to make sure that that front bit sits beautifully. So by doing that, it's really allowing the hair now to sit really beautiful onto the face and to flow nicely, because that's what it's all about. It's about giving a nice flow within the haircut. Oops. So what we can see here is we're taking these nice little vertical sections. So we're taking these sections nice and vertical from the top. So it's absolutely from the part of the parting all the way to the bottom. So we have the top of the section and the bottom. So we really have from where the graduation starts to absolutely where the graduation finishes. And this again allows us to have something that's really nicely blended. Okay, so it's all about getting a nice blend in there right now. That's what I really want to see, is a beautiful blend. So when we comb the hair and we dry it, we see a nice flow within the haircut. That's what I want to see, a nice flow. So again, we're just elevating a little bit more than what we did when we originally cut it. And if you want to take some sections so that you don't have too much hair in the way as well, you can. I'm really pulling the hair almost out at 90 here. So I'm really lifting the hair up as well. And bringing it up. So we're just skimming a little bit off the top, just to make sure that blend is gorgeous. And you know, the hair's already talking to us. It's already telling us we're doing a good job, because we can see the way that the hair's sitting as well. So we're just working our way back. So these are nice vertical sections all the way through the haircut. But what we're doing is, as we get to the back, we're going to start pivoting as well. And I always find that if I have to, I could always do this again. So just don't hold back. So I could always do this again if I wanted to, from the back to the front. So we're working from the front to the back, but as always, if we want to grab anything else, if we feel like it needs, we can always do this again from the back to the front. And you can also do this when the hair's dry if you want to. But for me, there's something quite pleasing about trying to get it now, and then when it's dry, I could always have a chance to refine it again. But I feel I have better control when it's wet. So what I'm doing is I'm actually going to the crown area now. I'm going to where the growth patterns are, and I'm going to start pivoting after that around the back of the head shape. So again, just dusting, and that little bit of a dust is just going to help make everything blend. Remember, elevate the hair slightly as well. So the more you elevate, the more it blends. This is still graduation, even though we're elevating it quite high. We're not changing the shape. We're not changing the structure of the haircut. We're just softening it as we go. So again, just lifting
One
it
question
over.
for that. Do you elevate to the angle of the corner of the head for the step?
Do I angle? Sorry?
I'm not sure. Do you elevate to the angle of the corner of the head for the step?
What I do really with the elevation is I keep it at 90, so I'm pulling the hair out all the way up, 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 up. So I'm really looking for the hair to be pulled up at 90, so it's kind of straight out from the head. I hope that answers your question. So again, just dusting it. And guys, this is the secret. This is the absolute secret to getting something that really blends nicely. It's a great secret of mine, and it just, you can even see it now when you comb the hair, it's just blending beautifully. So that's one side done, second side to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clip the hair away as well, so it's out of my way. And the last bit is the fringe, guys, so we'll just keep the fringe for last as well. Save the best for last, huh? So what we do is we just comb the hair away, just combing the hair away. And then what we're doing is we're pulling the hair out. And to be honest, I'm probably better to come from this way for you guys to see better. So let me just come from here. If you tilt your head over, thank you so much. And what I'll do is I'll just move this away. So you guys can see better. I'll just come from the back. From the front, sorry. And then what we're doing again is we're just dusting. So you guys can see what I'm doing is I'm elevating the hair up. I'm finding the angle that we've already used to create the graduation. And I'm just following it. So I'm just following the angle that we've already created in the haircut. And I'm just dusting the top, pulling the hair out at 90 as we go. So it's just a refinement. And if we need to take a little bit more off the top, just to stop it being such a pronounced corner at the top, this will help really allow the graduation to sit better. Normally it's the top that leaves a little bit of weight. Obviously, I'm doing this very classic for you guys where it's all graduation, but there's no problem if you want to do this haircut with a little bit of a layer in it. I think it's really nice as well. A lot of my work has layering in it, but it's nice to show you guys a pure graduated technique. So a lot of people call this a pure triangle graduation, A-line graduation, short classic graduation. There's a lot of names for it, but they all kind of work on the same principles of what I've shown you today. Beautiful, so that's the same thing on the second side. I just want to give a big shout out to the guys in Greece as well. We just finished doing a class in Greece with Alma Beauty. They're really amazing guys. We love working with them. We just did an amazing course which is slant. It's the first in our geometric series. It's all about triangular shapes. So we taught this haircut along with other triangle layers and triangle line as well as part of our slant geometric series. So if you want to learn all about these types of haircuts and do them with us, you know, we're running our next course, like we said, on the 19th and 20th of January in our new Slate Academy, and we will be doing these haircuts. So if you want to have a go with me doing this haircut, come with us on our geometric class slant in our London Academy and come have fun with us. Cool. So what I'm doing now is I'm getting to the point where I have to start pivoting because I'm actually working around the head shape now. So I'm pivoting from the top of the head shape and I'm coming around and I'm just going to come down. So we're going to start blow drying for you soon, guys, as well. It's a great time when I'm blow drying if you want to ask any questions. So we'll save a few for them as well. And coming through to the back. So again, just combing it and trying to elevate a little bit higher than what we did originally, just to make sure that the blend is there. So it's just, my secret is a little bit of elevation higher than what you've previously cut, and that will just help everything sit much better. If you feel like it's still a bit heavy, you can always walk the dog, as we like to call it. Technically it's late, and what that simply means when we talk like that is we say whatever we've done, we go back on ourselves. So it's a very easy thing to do. This is Natalie, by the way, guys. So if you haven't seen how long her hair was in the beginning, I suggest when this ends, you go back and you check it out. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking large sections, just elevating the hair up and just taking the corner off the top, just to make sure the blend is there. So what I've done is I've come from the front to the back, and now I'm just very gently going from the back to the front, just to really make sure that I'm happy with the blend and there's no weight sitting in the top either. So I can literally feel it's a little bit better now, and I'm liking the way that's looking and the way that's sitting. Gorgeous. So I think we should try and give it a little dry now as well. Perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm just using a small little vest brush. What this is going to do, it's going to allow us to dry the hair beautifully. And we're going to start really blow drying from the front over the top of the head. So I work from the front and I work towards the back as well. So we're going to start.
Are you planning to visit Canada? Somebody's asking.
We'd love to. If someone would like to host us in Canada, please just give us a message and we'd love to come and see you in Canada. We've actually never been to Canada. We've been to America, we've been to South America, but we've never been up north to Canada, so we'd love to be there. So if anyone wants to host us, we would love to be there. So just get in touch. Beautiful. So really, just moving the hair down and forwards, down, forwards, down, forwards. And this is going to be great. Cool. So, just working ourselves over one side and then the other. So over the head shape. To be honest, guys, I haven't even used any products today. So it's just completely no products. Just letting the hair do the work for me. Just letting the hair do the work for me. Just allowing the hair to form around the head shape. Just pushing the hair forwards.
Eugene, I would like to join your course in January. How can I do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways you can join us on our course. You can go to our Slate Hair Education Facebook page, which is actually, there's a link at the top of this live video. And if you go on our Slate Hair Education Facebook, you can send us a message. If you go on our Instagram, Slate Hair Education, on our Instagram, Slate Hair Education, you can send us a message there. If you go on our website, slatehair.com, you can send us a message there, that's slatehair.com, or simply send us an email to info@slatehair.com. So there's a variety of ways that you can get in touch with us. and any of those, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to see you on our course in London at our new London Academy. So we're very excited, guys. Very excited. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be just smoothing the hair a little bit. So I'm taking curved sections around the head, and I'm going to start adding it into the brush. So working from the top to the bottom, really using it like a round brush, just coming in and smoothing the ends, just making sure the hair is nice and smooth. You know, this brush is not deforming the hair, it's not pulling it out of its natural. We just want the hair to sit in its natural position, nice and beautifully. So we're just encouraging the hair to sit in its natural state. Okay, and then we come round as well.
Well, asking, do you have any online education?
Yeah, we have a lot of online education. You can find it all at hairbrain.com or at hairbrain Facebook. So if you go on your Facebook and you type in Hairbrain Slate Hair Education, you can find us. Alternatively, if you go to our Facebook page, Slate Hair Education, we have all of our Hairbrain videos on there and also all of our head sheets. So if you want to see our head sheets, you can go on our Facebook page as well, and you'll see all of our head sheets, because every single Hairbrain live we do head sheets for you afterwards. So all of you hair nerds out there that want to see the head sheets of how we did this, just tune in. About 5 minutes after we finish here, we'll be going live on our own Facebook page of Slate Hair Education, and you can see the head sheets and all the other live educational videos we've done in the past as well. So again, just taking the hair, curving it round, and just coming a bit forward, sorry guys, and then coming back. So, one of us spin around, sorry. There we go, that's great. Beautiful, sitting really nicely. So almost there. As I said guys, I'm not even using any product on this. I'm just letting the hair nice and natural. I think a good cutter shouldn't have to rely on lots of straightening irons and lots of products to make the hair look good. We're just trying to use minimal as possible. I might put a touch of hairspray on at the end just to let it set into place.
I've got even one more question.
Good, I like questions.
I noticed your blow dry sections are opposite of your cutting sections. Benefit of that versus blow drying with the same section as cutting.
Yeah, I think really the reason why I took my sections like that when I was blow drying was because I wanted to make sure the hair was going in the right direction. So for me, because I was really curving the hair forwards towards the chin, what I was allowing it to do was really curve in. If you take sections and you pull everything back, you might have a chance that the hair doesn't sit forwards like this. So I was really looking for something that was going to allow the hair to sit in the direction I wanted it to. So the direction I wanted it to was really a little bit more forwards than anything. That's looking great. Beautiful. Last little bit. Amazing. So we're not done yet, guys. We're just going to now start the fun bit of doing the fringe area and refining as well. But it's looking really nice. It's sitting really nice. So I'm really happy with the results so far. I hope you guys are too. Let us know. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you as well. So we're just going to decide how wide we want to go with the fringe. And what I'm doing here is, to be honest, I'm really looking at naturally where the hair's sitting. You know, we've got such a beautiful face here on Natalie. I really want to expose it as well. You know, we want to show off that beautiful face as much as possible. So we're just finding where the hair naturally sits. And so we get it to make sure that it sits off the face as well. So that's looking really nice. So we're going to take that as a bit of a guideline of a section. We'll do the same thing on the other side as well. So just combing the hair down, finding where it splits naturally, and just making sure that that works. So you can see I'm kind of letting the hair talk to me. I'm trying to let the hair go where it wants to go naturally. I'm combing the hair and seeing what falls naturally onto the face as well. And so what we'll be doing, sorry Chris, let me just unlock the chair, is we'll be working towards the back. I'll just, for uber safety, I'll just put a little clip on either side, just to make sure it's out of my way. Cool, guys, so now to the fun part, right? The fringe. Kind of could leave it like a veil, but maybe not. You want to see, right? Yeah, something people always want to see. I don't get it. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to start from the middle, because I want to just get the length right from the beginning. So I'm going to go in with the less tension part of the comb. I'm just going to go in at the length I want to see, and I'm going to start cutting from the center. Now what that's doing is it's giving me a little bit of a guideline to work through. It's giving me a little bit of something to aim for when I'm working. So that's a nice little center section already cut in. So what we can do is we can use that baseline, that center section, as a little bit of a guideline as we're going to work through. So again, just putting the comb in. Now all I'm doing for this is just to secure the hair more than anything. I'm not doing it for any other reason than for a bit of securing of the hair. So once we've got that, sorry Natalie, I know little hairs, no, I hate them too. So we're just going to be moving a little bit of those. Okay, perfect. So keep your chin up for me. That's great. Just making sure we haven't missed any bits as well. That's coming through nicely. And now we're going to work through on the second side. And so what I'll do is I'm just going to come through here. Just chin up for me a little bit. Thanks, Natalie. We're going to come from the corner now. And I'm really aiming to join what I did previously. So I'm looking at the area in the middle now, and I'm looking at where I'm going to go to connect it through. So we're just trying to connect that in as much as possible. Try and get this hair off Natalie's face. Sorry. There we go. Beautiful. You guys have to give a thumbs up for Natalie. She's been an amazing model. She's allowed you guys to watch some amazing hair education. So we've got to thank her a lot. Without the models and without the clients, what would we be? We'd be broke. That's what we'd be. So big thumbs up to Natalie for being with us today. Just going to refine that a little bit as well. So we're really exposing Natalie's face here. We're exposing her features. That's exactly what we want. We want to bring all the beauty out. So I'm just coming from underneath now. I'm just refining a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to comb and then cut a little bit, and then comb and then cut a little bit. What this is going to do is it's just going to allow you to see all the indiscrepancies that come out. So anything that pops out, you can grab it at this point. So once I'm happy with that, I'm happy with the length of it, we're just going to soften it as well. So what I do here is I comb the hair down, I put a little bit more tension, and I go in vertically, and I just soften the fringe out. I love a kind of little bit of a brokener fringe. So we go in first straight, and we just, at that point, when we go in straight, we just see the balance. So all I was looking at was the balance. And now we're going in and we're just softening that fringe. I'm going in vertically because I just want to make it a bit softer. I don't want to make it choppy. I don't want to smash the balance of it or anything. So I'm just going in and I'm just pointing in really straight into the hair. And that's just going to soften everything out as we go. So again, just a little bit of tension, and I'm allowing the scissors to do all the work.
We've got a comment for our beautiful model.
Ah, beautiful.
She sits so still. I want her to give education on how to get a haircut to some of my more restless clients.
Ah, I like that. Yeah, it's very true. Some things, there should be some kind of neck vices we can give clients, I think, just to make them not sit still. I think most clients don't even realize it though, you know. I think this is the thing that you know, maybe if we just explain to the clients a little bit better, you know, if we said, now imagine Van Gogh trying to paint the Mona Lisa and the Mona Lisa kept moving. It's a bit hard, right? So just keep still for me.
I think it's a natural thing. While you are talking, you want to make moves. So,
exactly. So the secret is less talking. Sorry, Natalie. There we go. George, can you just get me the hairdryer on cold, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Wonderful. Trying to get all those little hairs off. Guys, we really hope you like this education so far. We've just got a little bit more to go. We're running a little bit over time. We do apologize, but thank you for staying with us. We're just going to refine the outline in a second, and then we're done. The hairdryer on cold, please. Just to blow all that hair off. The hair. Sorry. Okay, so how many hairdressers go home with hair in their socks, hair in their underwear, hair everywhere? People don't realize how much we suffer. We suffer for our clients. We suffer for the love of it. Cool, so it's looking really nice now. Tiny little details left to go. A little bit of hair sticking out there. So what I'm going to do is those baby hairs, I'm just going to smooth them down just so they're not coming out as well. A little bit more refinement on the details now. Just watching the way the hair comes out. Just refining it so it sits beautifully as well. I'm really liking that. Guys, let us know what you think. It's looking really cool now. All right. Beautiful. Cool. So it's looking really good. I'm just going to put in a little touch of hairspray now as we go. Beautiful. So just working from a little bit further away. Just to get it in place for you guys as well. A little bit on the outlines. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be just sharpening these outlines for you, but that graduation is looking really nice in my opinion. It's coming along nicely. It's a little bit more refinement, but that's all. Beautiful. So just a bit more on the fringe area. It's looking great, Natalie. Thank you so much. Cool. No, it's our pleasure. So, now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to be refining the outlines. Now, to be honest, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing this refinement with the client standing up, but I think for argument's sake for you guys, what I'll do is I'll do it sitting down, and then we can have another look quickly when Natalie stands up for you. So I always start from the front here. The reason why I start from this front area is because my hand naturally works like this. So I always start from the bit that my hand naturally works from. So we're just looking for the hair to go naturally where it sits. And we're going to start refining the outline for us as well. You can see we're just taking off very minimal hair just to connect to that short point. So we're just looking for the hair to move and connect into that short point as well. That's great. Just combing it down just to see where the hair's falling naturally, just to make sure we've got a nice smooth line. So I'm working from the front towards that short point that we have here. From this short point, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be coming round and just connecting it into the hairline as well. Just working gently into the hairline. Beautiful. So we're just softly working through, just curving it a little bit. So keep your head straight for me. That's great. We have to go a little bit more down now, just to see a bit better. And just a little touch there. So this is where the real detail comes in, but to be honest, you can do whatever you like as well. You could do this strong, you can do this soft. There's nothing really wrong with doing anything here. It's completely up to you what kind of vibe you want to go for, what you want to see at the end or not, whether you want to see this strong or soft. Maybe you preferred it the way it was before, that's fine. You can always leave it as well. Really, the good thing about doing it like this is the choice is actually yours at the end of the day, where you leave it or not. So we're just looking to connect to that short point. Again, I'm just combing it and cutting it. So I'm just combing the hair down, seeing where it falls, and just cutting any excess off. Beautiful, just keep your head upright, that's great. So we're just looking to refining that always. So we're just coming through. Okay, now if you tilt your head slightly for me. Just going to be working through that front area and connecting it in. The good thing is we were very precise about where we wanted the front to sit. And so we've really taken our time to make sure it's hitting the right mark. Okay, so if you guys liked it so far, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. If you guys try this in your salon and you like it, why don't you send us a little picture of what you did? We always love hearing from people. A lot of people message us and say, you know, you showed us this haircut online and now I did it in my salon. This is the end result, and we love seeing all that. So, you know, thank you for everyone that ever sent us a picture and all this stuff. We really, really appreciate it. Beautiful. So almost there. Last little details in the back. And it just works. So you can see my hands working from the back to the front now. It's the opposite of what we did on the other side. You know, we think it's really important to work in the way that your hand naturally does. And so my hand naturally moves forward here. And so we think that's a good place to start. Yeah, I like that graduation. I like the way it's forming. I hope you guys do too. It's been a really, really fun Hairbrain Live for me. Really thank you guys all for tuning in. Don't forget, if you want to see the head sheets, we're going to be going live in about 5 minutes on our Slate Hair Education's Facebook page as well. So that's Slate Hair Education's Facebook for you. Okay, beautiful. Let's get Natalie cleaned up. Yeah, that's better. You're becoming a real hairdresser. And what I do is just also, because we're going to take some nice pictures of this, I'm just giving a baby hairs a little clean up. So getting rid of all that baby hair. Sorry, Chris, you're running after me there. Just getting all the little baby hairs any little baby hairs, and I'm just removing them because we're going to take a nice picture afterwards as well. What I think is really good about this is if you actually get your client to stand up at the end and just check with the client standing up. So why don't you stand up for me please, Natalie? Thank you so much. So what we'll do is we'll do just a last little check of the haircut. I'll just do a little look of it. Just chin back a little. So this is a great way to check the balance. If you tilt the head back and you look from the front, you can just see a little bit of balance from both sides as well. Just make sure that the lengths are where you want it to be as well. Just combing the hair nicely. Cool. Okay. Always important to give the hair a little bit of a comb as you work so that you can see what you're doing better and the hair falls naturally into the right place. Cool. Okay, yeah, that graduation is looking nice as well. Nice and steep. Just head straight for me, head straight. Beautiful. Yeah, nice graduation. Looking nice. Just head straight. Straight there, that's good. Okay, cool. So I think I've gone over my time, guys. I'm going to call it there. I'm just going to do a little recap for you before we finish. So I'm Michael. This is George.
Hello.
This is the beautiful Natalie as well. She's been our amazing model for you. We've just finished the whole thing, but what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of a recap for you here, and then we'll be going live on our Facebook page to show you the in-depth head sheets as well. So that's great. Just pass my comb, please. Beautiful, looking good. So what we did, guys, was we started from the back and we took our first section, which we found a curved section in the middle. We started in the middle and we decided what our weight was going to be. So in other words, how heavy this graduation was going to be when we started. After that first section, we pivoted round, and the more we pivoted round and the higher we lifted, the shorter it was going to end up in the front. So if you pivot up higher, you end up shorter in the front. If you pull that first section more towards the middle, or the rest of the sections towards the first section in the middle, you're going to end up a little bit longer as well. So the trick here is to decide what length you want in the front, and then if you want it longer, pull it more towards the middle. If you want it shorter, pull it higher up towards the back. Once we did that, we really always started from the corner and we worked from the corner towards the middle, the corner towards the middle. The reason we start from the corner, because if you get the corner wrong, what you end up doing is you end up getting the length in the front wrong. So it's very important that we start from there to make sure the length is correct at the front. After that, we started with the one length above the ear, and then we elevated it up to connect to the back as well. After that, we took sections around the head and we lifted it from the front to the back, cross-checking as we went along as well. And that was kind of it. So I guess looking beautiful. Thank you so much, Natalie. It looks great. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope to see you in about 5 minutes on our Slate Hair Education's Facebook page for those beautiful head sheets. It looks good, Natalie. Yeah, have a little play with it. Give it a swish. Let's see the back again. Give it a swish. Yeah, loving it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good night from us, and we'll see you next month on the 18th of December for our next Hairbrain Live, where one of you will win a place at our London Academy for a course with us. So, see you next time. Good night from us. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.